And welcome back to Patriotic Art Live. We have a really, really neat show for you guys today, getting into some more Norse mythology that has sort of laid the foundation for lots of other stories in European history. So this has got some interesting morals to the story. Um, it's just a really exciting show today. So let me say hello to my buddy Patriarch. How are you today?
I'm very well, thanks. How are you, Donald? Yes, looking forward to this. Looking forward to this episode
Yeah,
because it's we get a chance to do a lot of fantasy art, and
which we love,
yes,
right?
I've been
Indeed.
developing a bit of a style these past few weeks, kind of
Hmm.
drawing and painterly and just experimenting, and
Yeah.
I get to actually do some real cool sort of fantasy-based illustration. Well, fantasy, I guess it's our Norse mythology, isn't it? It's probably rooted in some epic sagas that have been
Yeah. Yeah.
adapted over time and whatnot, and
Hmm.
retold. And but yeah,
Right. Well,
so
one has to wonder what the actual historic story was in a lot of these cases with these mythologies. Um,
yeah,
in the research that I did, by the way, the story is Sigurd the Dragon Slayer. So I came to find out that he's called Siegfried in England. So if people are familiar with that, it would be Siegfried the Dragon Slayer. But anyway, we've got some interesting background info on that. Shall I kick it off with some
sure.
background?
Let's read the topic notes.
Okay. So Sigurd the Dragon Slayer is a central figure in Norse mythology and medieval Scandinavian literature, most famously depicted in the Volsunga saga and the Poetic Edda. He is renowned for his heroic feat of killing the dragon Fafnir to acquire the cursed treasure the dragon guarded. Raised by the dwarf Regan, who seeks to use Sigurd to claim, or rather reclaim the treasure, Sigurd is eventually betrayed by those he trusts. His legend involves themes of bravery, fate, and betrayal, and it significantly influenced later European literature and art, serving as a cornerstone of Norse epic narratives. Wow,
Mm,
it's a big one.
it is, and in some ways, an unsung hero for many. Well, I can't imagine too many people know about this saga unless you're a die-hard sort of
Right.
kind of Norse follower,
For sure.
which often I think a lot of Norse culture gets overlooked by a lot of the Roman and Greco culture. I
That's
know
a
at
good
least
point.
I've
Yeah.
focused a lot on that myself. So I'm
Hmm.
actually quite glad to be able to delve into this a little bit more. On my
Cool.
screen here, I know you don't think you can see, but I've just got a few images that I'm going to use to uh, influence my drawings. I'm going to probably do a few sketches and
Hmm.
then yeah, see where they develop. I want to do more of a keyframe. Have you done many keyframes before?
No, that I used to use Photoshop quite a lot, but it's been a really long time. Almost everything I do now is just organic. It's just analog. Like using a
Okay,
pencil or a brush, and I'll use Photoshop mostly for brush up work.
cool.
Cleaning up mistakes or whatever. So
Yeah, yeah.
I would like to do more of like what you do, and there's so many great artists in our sphere. You of course you know about Wave Guy, Skinless Frank. There's
Hmm.
just like a bunch of our guys out there that do incredible Flash Gorgon, that do incredible digital artwork. So I'm jealous of them, but it's like you can't do everything. You
No, I
just
mean in some ways,
yeah.
being very well averse in sort of traditional drawing is
Hmm.
kind of is probably you know uh, a bit more valuable these days, especially as everything's moving towards digital and especially with AI. I mean,
Hmm. Hmm.
I think
Oh
it'll become
gosh,
more
yeah.
valuable
Yeah.
traditional art. So let's just start with the beginning of the story. It's a very
Hmm.
brief overview here, but we've got some notes, and let's kick it off before I start my drawing. So
Okay.
the tale of Sigurd the Dragon Slayer begins with his upbringing under the care of Regan, a crafty dwarf with a hidden agenda. Sigurd, born a prince and the son of Sigmund, is foretold to be a great hero. Regan, seeking to use Sigurd for his own ends, tells him of Fafnir, a dragon who guards a cursed treasure. Motivated by adventure and the promise of glory, Sigurd agrees to slay the dragon, not fully understanding the depth of deceit and the curse that lies on the treasure. Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
So I did a bit of research on this before the show myself, and it's very interesting because the theme of greed is very strong in here. There's a lot of lessons and themes and morals, if you will, parables
mhm,
in this story. So it's quite loaded. But I just find this topic of greed specifically interesting. That so the gold is cursed, and I just think in some ways there's a lot of symbolism and meaning to that people can apply to life today in some way. um,
yeah.
yeah, the gold originally belonged to a certain family, and then Loki, it's a pretty long story, but the way that there was a murder involved, and so the family cursed the gold, and then whoever takes the gold from then on shall die. That's from the curse.
Mhm,
And so
yeah.
it's just kind of interesting how throughout the story there's all these people that are scheming to get the gold, but then in the end the gold gets them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like some stories we've seen a lot of times in films, but obviously this probably influenced a lot of
Oh yeah,
those
I mean,
narratives.
that's pretty much what the whole theme is here, is how this is probably the oldest and maybe the original dragon slayer story that has kind of found its way throughout history, and northern Europeans especially. I don't think there's any southern Europeans that have stories about dragons. Would you? I don't know, are you aware of any, like from Italy or
Um,
Spain or anything like that?
Dragons. No,
Yeah, I
not
can't think.
really.
I
It's
think
mostly
it's
through sort of Germanic and Scandinavian
yeah,
folklore, isn't it?
that's what it appears to
Oh,
be.
sorry. Obviously, we have what's his name? Who's
I'll never
um,
forget what's his name.
forget it. He's probably one of the most Saint George and his
Oh,
dragon,
St. John.
yeah,
Well, yeah, which of course is English, right? And
yeah.
we did a
And
show on.
but he's more Greek, sort of from them
Oh,
areas.
oh, I
So
didn't know that.
it's an
Okay.
English legend, but he is, he's not typically from. Um,
Ah, okay. All right, that's curious. I had no idea that. It. I mean, in a sense, that just sort of shows how our how in a sense we're all in the same narrative, that we're all Europeans. That we all have like common roots, I suppose, what I might say here. Yeah.
yeah.
So let me read a little bit. I'll talk about a couple points here about the influence on European culture. Um, Literary influence. Sigurd's story, particularly as told in
Hello.
is, I think, one of the central aspects of life that I find very interesting. How one You know how one sees themselves in a certain way and has, as they say, agency, maybe skills, talent, born into a certain family, what have you, and then how fate somehow throws a curveball in there, and this is real life. This, like, everybody to some extent can kind of identify with that. We often wonder, like, why is this happening to me, or why, whatever the events are in our life. And it's maybe mysterious. I think, in the East, they would say it's your karma or something. Just an interesting theme there, and it's timeless.
Yeah, your mic just cut out.
Oh,
For
you
a
know
good
what? I was getting
chunk
a
of that.
phone call in, and it did it interrupt all that? Or what?
A chunk of it, yeah. So
Should I read it again?
maybe no, for me, I'm fine. Just to if you wanted me to chat about what you said about.
Yeah, if you could, that would be good.
So which point was it? The literary
Oh,
influence?
sorry. Yeah, yeah. Literary influence, as told by the Volsunga saga and the Poetic Edda, has significantly influenced European literature, poets and playwrights and novelists from the medieval time to now. This tale is a precursor to many modern fantasy themes, emphasizing heroism, adventure, and the interplay of fate and personal agency.
Yeah. So yeah, what was the point you made though about obviously situations in life and
Right. I'm particularly fascinated with or interested in how man, how do I say this? Like, how we interact with our own fate. We find ourselves in various situations, where one day we're up and the next day we're down. You have friends and family that you love and trust, and then they betray you or they hurt you in some way. And there's
yeah,
there's just so much of this type of kind of Shakespearean drama that we experience in life, and this has been going on for ages, for millennia. It's back into our mythology. So I suppose there's a side of human tragedy there that we hopefully can learn from. There's things that happen that are tragic in some way or other. This what we're doing right now reminds me a lot of the movie The Northman, which is one of my favorite films. I forget the German actor that's in it, but I'm really, like, a huge fan of that film. And that particular film, it deals very exclusively. I don't want to say exclusively, but the core theme of it is this: the fate of this particular prince who lost his kingdom. Father was killed, mother was abducted, and by his uncle. You know, and, like,
yeah,
the thing that, that's an insight in the family. These and then how throughout the the boy grows up to be a man, and he's just totally driven by this revenge. This, like, his whole existence is developed towards, gaining revenge and taking back his kingdom, um, saving his mother from this, whatever, the slavery, or being
your
abducted.
sorry, your mic is. I don't know if people are going to be picking up on this interference, but it's not so legible really.
Wow. Okay. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to fix that.
Um,
So.
okay, is anyone else seeing that now? I don't know.
Yeah, from my end, you're coming through real crunchy. Like, it's not really coming through very smoothly.
Strange.
Yeah, I guess it's the YouTube gremlins again.
Yeah, they've been onto us, haven't they? I got a strike recently because I have no idea. Like they'll just pick you up on anything. Literally, what could I have said or done? But it literally didn't haven't referenced any specific people whatsoever.
So I'm gonna check my chat here and see if you guys are able to hear what we're saying and how good or bad the audio is coming through here. If anyone in the chat wants to give me give me a shout out and let me know how the audio is coming through.
Okay, just sketching out some compositions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can hear my reverb as well. I have no idea what's going on there.
Oh, yeah, it's still crunchy on my end. I don't know what's happening.
Are you able to turn on like flight mode or something? If it is calls that you get, maybe next
It's
time
really
just
hard
try.
to hear you, man. I'm sorry. It's really hard to understand what you're saying on my end. I know you're talking, but it's just buzzy. I'm going to turn on my computer and turn the volume on my computer and see how it sounds from this end.
Okay.
Yeah. So go ahead and talk a little bit. Maybe read one of the next points.
Okay, so on the points of influence of European culture, Richard Wagner's operas. Perhaps the most notable influence of Sigurd's legend is on Richard Wagner's Der Ring des Nibelungen, a cycle of 4 epic operas. Wagner's adaptation, which transforms Sigurd into Siegfried, has played a crucial role in popularizing Norse myths and the figure of the dragon-slaying hero across the world. So a dragon-slaying hero. It'd be interesting to kind of find out when this mythology was, and maybe if it helped influence our my memory is going terrible today. Our own tales.
So if I can interrupt, the problem's on my end. You're coming through fine on your end, but I don't know why it's not working on my end. You might end up taking over the audio for the show.
Yeah. Okay, well, I suggest maybe next time you should try and just disable put flight mode on so you can't get incoming calls. It's obviously it starts to interfere with the audio, and it's probably bugged out or something.
It's hard to tell. I mean, it's really no different from other shows that I've done, so I can't tell honestly why it's not working this time. Yeah, I do a lot of shows as well.
Interesting. I don't know. Maybe it's our unique setup. I'm not really the best at drawing dragons, but try.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to turn the sound off on my phone, but I'll turn the sound on my laptop so I can hear what you're saying clearly.
Okay.
Had a lot of people try to call me while we're on the show. I don't know if that's.
Yeah, I think it might be likely.
While we're on the show. I don't know if that's.
Yeah, I think it might be likely.
It's funny how there's always an evil.
Oh, it's perfect now.
elf or
He's
troll.
back. Your audio's back. It's good.
My audio's back, you said?
Well, it was. Yeah, it started. And then it's just back on again.
Well, maybe it'll come in and out. I don't know, but
who knows? Hopefully it'll figure itself out.
yeah. All right, I'll just try, and if it's really bad, just tell me it's really bad, and I'll shut up.
Yeah, no worries.
Okay.
Let Z know.
Anyway, what I was trying to say is that it's funny how there's always some kind of evil troll, elf type character that is sort of behind a lot of these dramas. And
yeah, very true.
Yeah.
Well,
of course,
I think these stories are. Carry on, sorry.
No, I was just saying I equate that with a certain tribe.
Yeah, I think I think we in the past we've told these stories to be mindful of peoples and things in society that are problematic and things that we need to be careful of,
For sure.
Even like vampires, for example, I'm sure there's some connection there to real life lessons,
Yeah. I guess it's maybe I'm naive or something, but it's just there's that message that you always kind of have to watch out for thieves and liars, that there's always that presence or that potentiality of people taking advantage of your trust. And for me personally, it's betrayal within the family is the worst kind. I feel like that's
definitely,
it's family. You get the general idea of what I'm saying here. So
yeah, it must be tough, man. I know it's it's not really experienced too much betrayal amongst family. We've had disagreements, but
it's good that you haven't.
Yeah, I can imagine it being hard to deal with, though.
Indeed.
Yeah, I think trying to come up with a decent composition. I'm hiding his face a bit too much, though. just to be a bit more visible.
It's nice that you can zoom in and out with on a computer. Just seems to add more control.
It can be good. Yeah, sometimes when you shouldn't be putting details in, like now. It can be tempting. Like I should be focusing more on the overall shape, I think. But
I've been looking at the work I've been doing on this show and just trying to think, how can I improve? Like what would be a better approach?
Yeah.
I think my strength is more with these kind of monochromatic images. The color I would like, when I add color, I want it to be much bolder. You know what I'm saying? But the format of the show is fairly short. You can't. It's really hard to do completely finished pieces when you only have so much time to do it. And
Yeah. No, I know what you're saying.
yeah.
I think that's the problem with traditional art. Obviously, I can make mistake after mistake and Control Z.
Right. I'm gonna zoom in a little bit on this fella here so people can get a look at our evil little greedy little elf man, Reagan.
That looks awesome.
Yeah, that's Reagan right there.
I haven't drawn Reagan yet, but I will be.
There's a movie called Legend. I think it's a Ridley Scott film, actually. It's got Tom Cruise in it when he was young.
Yeah.
And there's some great sort of like goblins and elves and creatures and things in it. It's one of my favorite films. Anyway, this guy kind of reminds me of one of the characters. I think it probably is just like channeling through me. That's a pretty common thing, I guess, is just, movie influences or what have you. They sort of come through in your art,
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously Frank Frazetta, he really got me inspired to kind of pursue art again. And I think I mentioned I was trying to get into concept art for a while. But life sometimes takes twists, and plans don't always come true.
Life sometimes takes twists. That is well said. Well said indeed. I think the audio seems to have worked itself out.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm going to go back and read some more of those points then.
Go for it.
Yeah, so Richard Wagner's operas. Perhaps the most...
I read that bit, but you can carry on.
Okay.
I think I did that one.
See, the audio was that bad that I didn't hear that. So the next point on this topic, art and symbolism. The imagery of Sigurd slaying the dragon Fafnir has been a popular motif in European art, especially during the Romantic period. This imagery symbolizes the triumph of good over evil and has been used in various cultural and historical contexts to represent courage and valor. So I think that's very true. Like, you can certainly... I don't know, there's just so much kind of mythology packed into this. The idea of the slaying the dragon, I think a lot of us envision the image of course, St. George, but sort of saving the maiden, you know what I mean? And then in a sense, it's like a precursor to the whole concept of like battling your own inner demons. You know what I mean? Like, you're slaying the dragons within yourself.
Yeah.
And I'm doing a lot of that these days. So, I can, I think this is where mythology comes in in a way to guide us and strengthen us, that I want to be Sigurd, or I want to be the hero of my own story. I want to be proud of myself. I want to overcome my challenges and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So doing the art like this is actually right now in my life. In fact, it's actually quite awesome. It's hitting the spot. Like, yeah, this is exactly what I need to be doing right now.
Yeah, it's a wonder why we haven't really done as much Norse mythology, isn't it? Because there's, I mean, even for example, the Anglo-Saxons that migrated over to the UK. I remember doing many podcasts with Sven, and there was a certain, there were many sagas and tales. Although the Anglo-Saxons weren't so literate, they had a lot of folklore and stories that they told and passed on and recited. I think I think that's the case, if I remember rightly. But even the likes of King Alfred, if there's anyone in the chat that knows, there's a certain set of books of saga. I think it's the Anglo-Saxon, distinctly from the Anglo-Saxons, but they retained a lot of this Norse because they're obviously from the Danes. And they influenced even the likes of Alfred the Great, who was, I mean, the Norse, Danish mythologies and stories became, part of the culture and expanding kind of tropes and mythology of England, Britain, and that. And yeah, I think they inspired a lot of kings, even.
I'm sort of wondering how bloody I should make this heart. He's cutting the heart right out of the dragon, and how gory do I want this to be?
That's a beating heart.
Yeah, that's a
Look
big
at that nose.
right there.
That is an amazing nose. I love it.
Oh, the little guy there.
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. What happened? Why is his nose so long? He got a funny cap on. How about that? So, I guess I'll read another one then. National identity. Very interesting. In Scandinavian countries, the saga of Sigurd the Dragon Slayer is deeply woven into the fabric of national identity. It has been used to foster a sense of pride and unity, emphasizing the valor, bravery, and moral fortitude that are seen as characteristics of the Norse people. So there you go. I mean, the arts are significant in carrying on through the centuries who a people are, and
Yeah,
so
well, exactly.
The arts and mythology go hand in hand, Yeah.
I often always thought there was a connection between the sort of the Greco tales of and a lot of the Nordic tales as well. They seem similar, and there seems to be an influence there. But I'm not entirely sure. But yeah,
I'm interested in learning more about Greco-Roman mythology. I mean, I'm not like Greek or Italian, so I kind of have, I guess, less sort of interest or motivation to kind of find out or whatever. But I think it's essential to the whole white identity movement. I'm friends with a guy many of you may know, Mark Brahman. We did a comic book together some time ago called The Seraph, and he has his site, theapolloniantransmission.com, which you guys can check out. He has a lot of controversial theories on art and religion, and the certain tribes that has made our extinction their religious goal. And so he's a really important thinker in our movement. And from his perspective, I think that reviving Apollo and the sort of Greco-Roman gods is a really, really important project. So I think there's a lot of people, it seems to me anyway, that there's a lot of people that are interested in and or practicing Odinism or Asatru. But yet, do you know anybody that's practicing any form of Greco-Roman cults or religion? And of course I know it's not, I'm not discussing like that versus Christianity, but just in terms of as a kind of a cultural practice that we've lost in time. It seems to me like
Not really. I know. Well, I saw an article not so long ago that people and I think we discussed it here, that a lot of the Greeks are kind of.
Oh, that's right. That's true. They created some kind of they're reviving some aspect of their ancient religious culture. Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yes.
I
might
think
have
it's all
mentioned
part
that.
of seeking. I think it's all part of people. People wanting to revive some of their identity, isn't it?
Big time. Yeah. This is how I
And
look at it. Yeah, that's how I look at it.
yeah,
Yeah.
and when you look at Judeo-Christianity at the moment, it's just absolutely weak.
That's become a big topic for me recently as well. I'm kind of having a resurgence of interest in Christianity. You and I have talked about this offline,
Yeah.
due to a friend of mine that brought something to my attention that I believe is called Aryan Israelites. And so I just asked her if she would maybe want to do a show with you and I on that topic, since she's very, very educated on it. This is a close friend of mine. She's the one who taught me about it in the first place. So like it's just become quite an interesting thing. So we'll see where
Yeah,
that
that
goes.
sounds interesting.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna do a close-up one. Sigurd, nice
So
portrait.
what's your idea for your composition?
First one's very sketchy, more of a landscape open shot of him taking on the dragon. Second one, he is kind of mid-action, sticking it to the dragon into the skull. Third
Ouch.
one, I'm yeah, I'm not too sure. I was gonna do a close-up. I really love this. You can't see on my screen, but there's an awesome illustration here. I think I've seen this. I think I recognize that comic guy, that comic artist style. Very good. I'd love to be able to draw like that.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of it has to do with just putting the time in, because like
Yeah,
a lot of I was of course researching this before the show, and there's so many beautiful, just stunning, amazing illustrations and paintings, etc., on this theme. you know, and
yeah.
you look at it again and you're like, okay, that would take quite a long time to produce a picture like that. But I feel like
I think
with
I think it's time and learning the fundamentals, but also developing your own style as well. Like having developing a style of how you draw your lines, and
yeah.
I think that's often something which helps to makes you kind of distinguished from others. And
Yeah, I have a theory that every artist there has this kind of a style that is the analogy is that it's like their handwriting. So when you sign a check or you sign something, you have a signature that is just the way you it's like an organic biological way that you sign your name, and it just comes natural to you. And I feel that it's kind of the same thing in art as well, that the way that we draw, the kind of lines that we form, etc., that's just an organic way that we understand the tools and we move the tools around, So like I can sort of fake somebody else's style, I could do that, but why, like why would I want to do that,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So my point I'm trying to make is that I think we all have to just accept kind of like who we are. Like, this is how I draw. This is how I paint. This is my style, and you can improve it. Certainly there's always room for improvement, right? But
you can always use people that you like to influence, but you'll never be them.
That's the thing that I'm trying to say here. So like, I do live comic book streams, comic book art streams, like maybe 4 or 5 nights a week. And I got a buddy who is trying to learn that, and he's asking me about, who do you recommend that I look up, etc. And I'm saying, oh, check out this person and that person and blah blah blah, and it's a lot of fun. But in the end, I'm thinking to myself, like, I've been looking at those people for years, and my art doesn't look anything like theirs, So, there's devices you can steal. There's, you can still enjoy their work. You can try to copy some elements of it, and that's okay. You can't create the wheel, so to speak. But all I guess I'm saying is that don't really be ashamed of whoever you are, and like embrace whatever your style
Oh
is.
no, I'm not.
Just try to.
You can't help but
best.
Looking at other people's work and appreciating it.
Yeah. It's a thing that it's kind of non-artists don't know, is how artists are almost never satisfied with their work, because it's never going to be Frank Frazetta. It's you know what I mean. So you somehow kind of have to like embrace that and let it go.
Yeah, but like you say, it is a matter of just practicing, isn't it, and developing developing your style. And
I'm really pleased that I do a lot of freelance work, and then I've got this. We've got this show, and staying active in the arts is critical. I mean, it's like, sports or music or martial arts. You have to keep doing it and stay on top of your skills and stuff. So like, spring is coming, and I'm going to be getting back into sparring. So
awesome.
I'm getting back into working out and trying to learn some new martial arts techniques, etc. So I don't get my ass kicked.
Nice. Let's read a few more. Where did we get to? Art and symbolism.
I just did.
We read that. Yeah.
National identity. Yeah.
Okay, so mythology and folklore studies. Sigurd's story is a key subject of study in the fields of mythology, folklore, and medieval studies. It provides insight into the beliefs, values, and societal norms of the Norse people, and has influenced the academic understanding of mythic storytelling techniques, including the use of symbols, motifs, and archetypes. Interesting.
While you were reading that, someone just like texted me, and then immediately my phone started going.
Yeah, I think it's that. I think next time, maybe just as a safe precaution, put your what do you call it, air flight mode on or something. Unless you need to take a call.
Well, my understanding is that'll cut off my internet connection.
No, it's just phone calls, I think.
Is that so? Okay. Well, I appreciate that. Yeah. See how smart you are? That's awesome, dude. That's why I hang out with you, man.
Cheers. Kind of good for something,
You're the brains and I'm the beauty. No.
Yeah.
But Yeah, I have like a really strong desire to learn more about Norse mythology, and I don't know that I'm trying to practice a religion or something, but rather to have the kind of spiritual, esoteric connection to it. You know, um, to at least know what our ancestors thought and felt and how they experienced reality. You know what I'm saying? I think our people were very, I don't know what the word is, like I guess more based, in a sense, like modern man is very soft. You know what I'm saying? Because like I was just
Well,
while I was watching,
with it,
while I was watching the documentary, I'm looking at these Viking ships going across the ocean, and I'm just thinking like the courage it took, to do this. Just pretty mind blowing.
yeah. Well, they were battle hardened people, weren't they? Our ancestors.
I guess that was just normal back then.
They had a lot of honor as well. There was a massive emphasis on honor, on your word.
Yeah.
Word was your bond.
Right.
And there was certain things which, in many ways, they were it's more barbaric and ruthless, but in many ways they were also more moral. In terms of telling lies and things like that. I mean, they valued things that we don't.
So my concept with this piece is to do it in black and, well, it's just not literally black and white, but like these tones, as you can see. But then to have the gold in yellow around it, so that, because how I'm envisioning this is that the dragon is laying on like a gigantic pile of gold coins, and so that I'll be like adding in yellow kind of around the background here to communicate the idea of gold, basically. Just fill it all in here. My camera's going to shake a lot when I do this. But
I'm getting in the goblin in the background.
Yeah, you see that guy? It's coming together. Anyway, I think what's nice though is when you use kind of monochromatic art, like what I have here, and then you add a color, just one color, and then it stands out very, very strongly, and it has a certain beauty to it, I think it's the element of contrast, when you can use contrast in your art effectively, it just, it makes it pop. It that's the difference between sort of art and reality, in a sense, is that you choose what you're highlighting and what you're leaving out and these kinds of things. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, that's part of art direction, isn't it?
Sure.
And I think making these choices are important in kind of the storytelling of it.
And then when you start a piece, it's always very rough, and then I think of it like sculpting in a way. It's like 2D sculpting, because you sketch out your work, and then like gradually, slowly, more and more over the course of making it, you're adding and subtracting and building it up, if you will.
What should I put here? I think I'm going to put a couple of dragon legs here. Or no, money. I think I'll put money.
So
there's
go ahead.
Some gold and in a
Another thing
cavern.
that comes to mind when we're doing this is there's the I think it might have been the Hobbit film. It's J.R. Tolkien's. It's not Lord of the Rings, but in the Hobbit film, there's a very major aspect of the story where they have to go in and take the gold from this dragon. If you've seen it,
Yeah,
you'd know, and cinematically, it's like mind blowing. It's just like exquisitely, beautifully done. And they go into this kind of mountain temple cave kind of thing, where all the gold is. And the dragon is actually, he's like buried in the gold, like they don't even see him until and I don't remember the guy's name, the main character in the story. He's
Elijah
kind of,
Wood,
say again.
Elijah Wood, or Frodo.
No, this is, so it's not Lord of the Rings. After Lord of the Rings, there was another series that came out, but I'm sorry. This happens to me all the time while I'm drawing or painting. Like my mind blanks out on simple
Yeah,
things like
I'm the
that.
same. I
Yeah,
mean, I've forgotten St. George's name like twice already before. Like,
yeah.
well,
This is what people don't understand. While we're doing these shows, we're talking, we're keeping the conversation going while we're, and you got to imagine 90% of your brain is trying to focus on this. So it's a
yeah,
little hard to do that. But I'm sure people in the chat will be like, "Oh, you mean this movie? Duh." Like, how come you don't know that? Duh, like that kind of.
yeah.
But when you're juggling and riding a unicycle on a tight wire, it's not as easy. But anyway, so yeah, that comes to mind. It's another
I'm playing
iteration, another
some
version of
Norse
this
sort
myth.
of acoustical, calm Nordic instrumentals on
Mm.
my background. A song called Rissing Hellise. Um, yeah, it's quite good. I think that's another thing, isn't it? When you listen to music from your
Hmm.
ancestors of past, and
Oh
it
God.
just chimes, it hits deep, doesn't it? It's like
Oh
I'm not
man.
familiar with a lot of the Norse
Yeah.
music, but whenever I listen to it, it awakens something in me. I think it's like it just
Totally.
resonates,
It takes you
and
right back in
it
time.
has to be, yeah, it has to be them DNA strands inside of me, just kind of like waking up a little bit and sort of chiming
Yeah.
and a
Yeah.
little, just
That's a
vibrating
very, very good point.
a little bit harder.
Right. 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 Those DNA strands, they're being strummed, basically.
Popping, yeah.
Yeah. I listen to a good bit of Baroque guitar when I'm doing art. I find Baroque
Okay.
guitar specifically for me is extremely soothing, and it just stimulates my imagination somehow. There's something complex about those compositions. There's almost something mathematical that I don't know. It just stimulates my mind in some ways.
Mm,
So it's quite interesting how that works.
it is interesting.
Yeah, I
I
recommend
think
try it out sometime. Put on some Baroque guitar, and the guitars are not.
Baroque. I know.
Yeah,
I know the art movement, or at least architecture movement,
sure. Um,
but I didn't realize there was a sort of a music
oh yeah.
influence.
Hmm.
So I'm thinking what to do for my next, for my final sort of keyframe.
Hmm.
It's a tough one. So I've done so far a present moment where he attempts to, or he's just engaged with the dragon. I've done a kind of mid shot where the dragon is being slain. I've
Hmm.
done one just before where you don't even see the dragon, but it's more of the kind of the emotions in his eyes as he's
Mm.
being told
Mm.
to go forward. illustrating the deception, but I think I quite like this actually. I might take this to a finish, but I'll see what else I can pull out the bag. Your goblin is awesome, by the way. I love the eyes; they're just popping out there,
Yeah.
and his little phallic nose just dangling off his face. What shall I do? Your sound's gone. If you're talking, I can't hear you. Sorry.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I'm back now. Am I back now? Hello, hello.
Yeah, I can hear you.
I don't hear myself. Oh, there we are.
Yes.
Am I back now? Hello, hello.
Yeah.
I don't hear myself.
Yes, fine now.
Yeah, I got another phone call and it screwed me up.
Yeah. Next time, just try it anyway.
I'll try it
unless
right
you
now.
really need to take a call.
I'm gonna put the airplane mode.
Reloading.
Are we back?
I think so.
All right, we are back. So I tried turning off airplane mode and I got completely cut out of the stream. So that's not how it works on my end. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll see.
But I know my audio is pretty crunchy right now, though.
Let's see. Strange. Yeah, it's always it's hard to know. It's like sometimes just feels like you don't change anything, but the settings just seem to not want to work. It's hard to know. It's like sometimes just feels like you don't change anything, but the settings just seem to not want to work. It's hard to know. It's like sometimes just like you don't change anything. Oh, do let me flip this. Flip the canvas. Okay, so that looks all right. That looks pretty good. With the flip, that doesn't seem too bad either. I quite like this one. Quite like this one. Oh, that's what I can do. I can put the old little knob nose here.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's what I can do. I can put the old little knob nose here.
Oh, okay. I lost your screen, so I had to get that back on.
No worries. Too flat there.
I lost your screen, so I had to get that back. So let's see. I'll read another bit on the topic here. And what do we got? Influences on fantasy literature. Okay, so the saga of Sigurd has directly and indirectly influenced the genre of fantasy literature, with elements of his story being seen in the works of J.R.R. Tolkien. I had just mentioned that earlier. C.S. Lewis and many others. Themes such as the cursed treasure, the noble hero, and the dragon adversary have become staples of fantasy fiction. Bingo. I'll read another one as well. Video game and popular culture. In contemporary times, Sigurd's influence extends to video games, movies, and comic books, where his legend is reimagined and retold for new audiences. This has helped maintain the relevance of Norse mythology and its themes of heroism and adventure in modern entertainment, contributing to a continuous interest in and appreciation for ancient myths and legends of our people. Quite good.
Yeah. Agreed on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad to have. Yeah, it's a good topic this week. Yeah. I really didn't want to like this last one because I thought I was set on which one to finalise, but I actually quite like it.
So I want to thank all my friends in the chat and people listening to the show for enduring these annoying technical issues. This show has been plagued a little bit by technical issues since the beginning, but that's us. You know, we will not give up. We will not give up on you. So we got to get that cultural content out there for our people.
Exactly.
Nothing's going to stop us. So there you go. But it's really pretty phenomenal if you think how far this has come in history, even to now. You know, but I think the problem though is people not knowing the origins, not sort of recognizing the value and importance of Norse mythology in just our, our common lives, our common culture. You know, so I think doing a show like this highlights that. It kind of reminds people of those things. So it's a good thing.
Yeah, exactly. Like I say, we haven't been doing too much Norse stuff, so it's nice to do something that pays tribute to that.
Mm-hmm.
I always like to add a sort of serpentine elements to dragons.
Yeah, I have a kind of a funny take on dragons because, I lived in Asia for 5 years and just my whole sort of background in Kung Fu and all that stuff, that dragons are positive images in the East. You know, they represent strength, fortitude, intelligence, enlightenment, all kinds of things.
Really?
That, it's total opposite. They're evil in Western mythology and literature. So it's, for me, I guess, a little bit of a conflict, I guess, with the messaging of that.
Right. Interesting.
So, like in this mythology, Siegfried, as I'll call him the English name, he at some point tastes some of the blood of the dragon as he's cooking its heart, and it gives him magical powers to hear what birds can say. That he now understands the language of birds. Charming, part of the story there, but it does seem to indicate that there is some kind of mystical. The dragons give us some sort of mystical connection to nature and maybe our own nature. You know what I'm saying? So I think there's something to contemplate there.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, I mean, it's hard for me to comment on that. I know, it's different cultures, but me myself, it's more serpentine. And
I think what I'm going to do at some point with this piece is get some. So, for example, I've got this kind of whiteout. It's, I don't know if you would call it ink. I think it's more of like a paint, but going to go in there and touch it up. Put on some highlights, but with a brush, This
Yeah.
this tool right here is actually really awesome because it gives you that pencil line. Like I can do a lot of rendering, and with rendering, I can describe the form of things. I can, the way that you kind of scratch around with those rendering lines describes the curve of where the bone is, or the curve of the metal helmet, or the curve of the nose of our little funny hat man up here in the corner. So to me, composition is everything too. Sort of putting it all together in the story. So the flow of the eye. Of course, you've got that kind of S curve here. The sword in the chest helps to kind of even out this arm, and this moving in this direction. It's sort of a V form, if you can see that.
Yeah.
Obviously, his eyes looking at that. That's a key element. It's of the narrative of this story. This curve, the arc of the gold here, it kind of brings the eye back up, and then your eyes, you're gonna obviously see this little bad guy, but then the ear and the direction of the snout on the dragon kind of leads you back into here, which then stakes you down to the
Guiding
bottom,
path.
and then the blood leads you back up to here, and so the whole composition, none of this is haphazard. All of this is intentional, and it's meant to make you linger and wander and dream inside of this world. Come into this world, surrender yourself to the myth of it, be there, and so there's a kind of magic to composition. It can't just be sort of a flat rubber stamp thing. Now, on a scale this small, I don't have, it's mostly in the foreground, kind of. I could, maybe in the deep background, I could put something. I do have like a dead space up here. I'm not into the idea of like filling up every single part of every inch of the page has to be filled with garbage. You want to give it some breath, and let me take a minute also to say hello to all my friends in the chat here. We've got Western Kind United is here. I hope my corrupted robot voice is not on right now. I truly am not made of AI. I'm a real human being. Hippocratic Oath, one of my good buds. These guys come to my evening shows, my comic shows. Mac is back. Always a pleasure, my man. Who else we got here? Didymus. This is the crew here. Like, these are, I'm going to start a band with these guys. But let me also say hi to Sam. I don't know if Sam is new, but I'm always happy to have new folks, popping in and joining on what we do. This is a Tuesday show, so every Tuesday around this time, we do a show, and there you go.
That's right, Patriotic Art Live.
Yes, Patriotic Art Live. Now, I think this was your idea to do this show, right? I mean, I'm a little fuzzy on.
I think we
I
both agreed to do something together.
Yeah.
And I think this was just a natural course of action.
There you go. Yeah. That's it. I have very selective memory. I'm getting old or something. I don't know. But another aspect of this piece here is using the toned paper. When you kind of work on, like if you just work on white paper, it's fine, but it's the whole paper in a sense it represents light, and then you just have to add shadows and shadows and shadows and shadows, and you build up from that end. Whereas here you've got a middle tone, and then you work out from the center. So, you have, again, this kind of middle tone, and then you add light and shadow, and together it comes together nicely. I feel like working from middle tone paper like this, somehow or other, it just has more depth or something, that there's something kind of more
I think when you start with, I think maybe you start with sort of a grey middle tone.
Mm-hmm.
It's easier for the sort of the shadows and the highlights to pop.
Yeah.
Normally, when you work on white,
Mm-hmm.
you have to kind of put grey throughout, don't you?
Yeah.
To get
It's
that
very
pop.
heavy in that regard. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. So yeah, I'm just gonna go back over it. Yeah, I'm not sure which one to finalize. What's your thoughts?
Let me
I'll
zoom
get
in. I'm
your
going to
thoughts
zoom
on
in.
mine.
Yeah, give me a second here. I have to change the layout to see your work in more detail. So let's have a look, guys. What are you guys in the chat? This is quite something here. You've got these different options. It's even more work, basically.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
they
because
are rough and sketchy, but I will take one to a finish.
I'd say
Just a
that
little bit
one right
more.
there really speaks to me. But could you scroll over a little? And I want to take a second look at the other ones.
So that was the first one I did.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This was the third one.
Mm-hmm.
I quite
Well,
like the
the
story of
top
that, the story
the,
moment.
the top two are really speaking to me. I think the version of like that kind of image there, where you have got your little fella in the foreground, the man versus dragon is like just ridiculously epic. It's very common, but I think the other composition's a bit more engaging. The one
This top
right there,
one.
maybe that one I think is for me the most intense, because it's just so bold, and it shows it's just a good composition. I like the way the wings kind of frame the center, there's
Okay.
something violent about it that I think is very stimulating, you know.
Okay. So you're
I
not
mean, we
feeling
have to be
this one at
bold and
all?
heroic, right? That's the
Yeah,
theme.
yeah. Oh, how about how are you? You not feeling this one at all? Is
um
it? I guess it's because it's not got the dragon. So
well, I mean,
um,
I like it as a portrait. I mean, I really feel like the dragon's we gotta have the dragon
got
in
to be
here.
in there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it just
yeah.
seems
I understand.
essential. It's like central to the theme. You know, like
Do you
I
want a
think I
top
mentioned
two then?
earlier, I did some research on this story, and I listened to the whole story, and there's a lot more to it than just killing the dragon,
Yeah.
and it's really awesome. So like, there's so many things that could be illustrated in the story.
Well, on that note, let's continue with the story.
Okay.
So I think we've talked about video games and pop culture. So
Mm-hmm.
we discussed the beginning of the story, and then sort of towards the middle, we've got armed with magical sword reforged from his father's shattered blade. Sigurd embarks on his quest to confront Fafnir. With
Mm-hmm.
cunning and bravery, he slays the dragon, taking the
Mm-hmm.
cursed hoard for himself. However, the victory is bittersweet as Regan's true intentions are revealed. He desires the treasure for himself and plans to kill Sigurd.
Mm-hmm.
Forewarned by the wisdom he gained from tasting Fafnir's heart,
Yeah.
Sigurd slays Regan, thereby avoiding betrayal. Yet the treasure brings no peace, weaving a web of greed,
Mm-hmm.
envy, and deception around
Yeah.
Sigurd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That element right there is really what grabs me. Like, that's what kind of gives me the shudders, this whole thing about how the treasure brings no peace, that
Mm-hmm.
somehow, I don't know, something about the way man kills for money, and how money dictates power, and it's just this age old issue, in humanity, and how how many wars and how many conflicts, how many families have been broken apart because of money and these things. And this is I
Yeah.
find that very troublesome. I find that theme, that even back in ancient times, was still a problem. It's
Well, I think
concerning.
war was. I mean, when you look back at our history, war has always seems to have
Yeah.
been,
Yeah.
you know, quite prominent.
Mm.
It was PC slow. Yeah, it always seemed to have something about it.
It's kind of part of the human condition, I suppose, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I think I'll scoot out of your image and get back to the double screen.
Yeah, so we're on about an hour 15. We've got about what?
Oh, Hippocratic Oath
So,
says, just in time for Year of the Dragon. How funny. That's a good point. I wonder if I can pop that on here, if I can show that there. There you go. Yeah, you guys have any comments or questions? It's always fun to interact. Welcome to Woodlander. It's great to see you. Seven Serpents is back. Awesome. He says a bird snuck in the somewhere would be nice. Language of the birds. Oh yeah, yeah. That's actually, you know what? Maybe you're right. Maybe I should have some like some birds in a tree. Because I was thinking of putting in these like gnarly looking trees in the background, or that maybe
yeah.
he was kind of hiding behind a gnarly tree of some kind. And that I think is genius. The idea of like having just in the background some kind of birds, maybe in flight, because I don't want to overdo it with this piece. I know that I'm going to go in and maybe do like the coins or what have you. It's sort of a balance between how detailed or not I'm going to go. But that's a genius idea, Seven Serpents.
Yeah, that would be. It'd add some depth as well, wouldn't it?
I was, my very first concept for this piece today was actually more almost like a crest for like a shield, something that it's kind of like just a almost a graphic design where all of the key elements, like the heart, the dragon, the sword, because the whole story of the sword is a big part of this mythology as well. It was Odin took it out of a tree or something of this nature in the story, and it's they say it's kind of the basis for the King Arthur sword from the stone myth. So it's just this myth is kind of like the mother of myths, so to speak.
Yeah, it does seem that way. I mean, even when I was reading the last bit, you could see the Hobbit in there, couldn't you? The Lord of the Rings. Sorry, how that that was clearly influenced by something like this, with the treasure and betrayal and coveting the gold.
Yeah. I see you're using like a gray background there. That looks real good.
Yeah, I wanted it to be a night scene, sort of a nightish scene. I might put a moon in the back somewhere.
Yeah, dramatic lighting.
Yeah.
I'm feeling that too. That's kind of why I'm putting in these heavy shadows. The thing about shadows, especially with ink, is that you can't take them out. You can kind of, I mean, there's always a way, I suppose, but I just have to be kind of selective about where I'm putting shadows, what kind of shadows, how dark are they, etc. It's important to try to get a good range of shadow as well, and shadow and light really create depth. That's kind of where the illusion of depth comes from, creating space, I should say. So I was talking about, I think it's called The Hobbit. I think the film I was talking about is The Hobbit.
Yeah, but that's the prequel, isn't it? To
I believe so.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's correct, actually. I used to read a lot more than I do now. Like, I just don't seem to have time to read. And I've just bought a couple books recently too.
Have you?
But so I will be reading, but
Awesome.
Seems harder to do, harder to find time,
Yeah, I'm not. I mean, I like to read certain things, but I find I don't have that much patience to read. I tend to read things I want to know information on. When it comes
Yeah.
to creating or writing it,
Oh yeah.
to reading someone else's story,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't seem to have the patience for it as much.
I hear that. The other thing too is there's audiobooks, there's YouTube shows. You know, you can even like download a book and then have your, you know, have like a book reader read it for you, because I'm usually at
Yeah,
my
true.
desk, you know, I'm working on stuff, you know, and I can't hold a book in my hand. I've got to do my work, you know. So that's been my replacement for reading, if you will. But yeah, it's just pretty astonishing how powerful this myth is. Yeah.
Yeah, and even more, we didn't really know much about it until
Mm,
until studying
right.
today.
Yeah. What were the other options in the poll for today's show?
I put the when Britannia ruled the waves. That was one.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that was one again. Uh, I added the Trojan horse. I added
Mm-hmm.
ancient runes of glory, which almost came in. I was
Mm-hmm.
second. Thought that
Mm.
was a good one. I wanted to get some couple of Norse ones in today, and
Yeah.
I put in the Council of Nicaea as well,
Yeah.
which is
I have a question for you. As an English person, what do you feel is your connection with the Norse peoples?
um, well, I mean they did contribute to a lot of the genetic makeup
Yeah.
of Britain,
Mm-hmm.
the Norse, so you know Scandinavian, the Danish especially.
Mm.
Uh, so I mean I don't feel super connected to that as much um, as the other cultures. I think that's generally
Okay.
because
Well, who do you feel
just
more
what I've
connected to, like the Germanic tribes, or I don't know. Do you have any Celt in you?
um, well I think from my granddad's side there's uh,
Mm-hmm.
a mix of English Irish. I know my name has Cornish roots, and that's kind of
Okay.
as Celtic as I might get.
Interesting.
Um, but yeah, Norse. I mean, yeah, I mean, I do, but I think it's mostly sort of the Irish and the Scots, which tend to really embody the more Celtic
Yeah, of course.
heritage.
The
Although,
Welsh. Yeah.
you know, I don't think we understand how much the sort of the Danes influenced the you know the UK and England. They
Mm.
really changed the genetic makeup a lot of it. I mean, there's the Saxons and stuff.
Yeah.
Where the Saxons were Danish, but the native Britons
Okay.
is what most people tend to kind of gravitate to. I think that's probably because of the name. Our names as British, so we assume that Britons were
Mm.
well, they were the kind of the initial inhabitants, I think. Well,
Mm-hmm.
the Picts were here for a while as well, to be honest.
Yeah, that's wild. Now I think of
But
the Picts as
they were Celtic, yeah.
like very, very wild, like very feral kind of people, you know.
Yeah, they were, I think, very tribal.
Mm. The history is so long, you know, there's so much to know. It's hard to know everything, you know,
Yeah,
wrap your head around
but
all of it.
yeah, I mean, I've got a bit of Ukrainian blood in me as well.
Okay. Wow.
So
Hmm.
um,
Yeah, I'm excited to, come to Britain someday, and just kind of like explore and kind of cruise around, meet some people, and kind of get a
Yeah,
sense of my, where my ancestors are from. And but then also really to meet and talk to people. And I don't know, I just have this really, really strong need to kind of find myself ethnically, between Scotland, Ireland, England, and France. And
yeah,
yeah, it's kind of a burning
go for
desire I
it.
have. I've had for really most of
Can
my
you
life.
work remotely?
Say again?
Can you
Can I
work?
work remotely?
Yeah,
Is that what you said?
like draw as you go and things like that.
The goal, of course, is to be a
Be full time.
professional artist, and that, I would love that if I could do that. um, um, maybe someday that the fates, the Norns, will allow me to do that.
Mhm.
So we got a couple comments here on these topics. The Woodlander's asking if we or you prefer fiction or nonfiction. This is a good question. Do you wanna take that?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Um, yes, so I've never thought about it, to be honest.
It's
It's a
it's
very good
funny. Yeah, I have
question.
neither really.
Um, yeah. Well, do you want to go? I'm still thinking.
All right, all right. Yeah, it's like I'm drawing right now. Don't bother me.
No, I'm literally thinking about how.
How to answer that.
Yeah. It's,
So, like for me, nonfiction, I consume a ton of nonfiction, but that's things like learning how to meditate, metaphysics, history, culture, politics. Like that's to me my nonfiction. I don't, that's that. It serves a purpose in terms of like I'm trying to enrich myself regarding, just understanding the world and my place in it and all that kind of stuff. um but I would say that in my heart is probably really more into fiction. I feel that I don't know, the world itself is too, it's like I want to kind of be in a world where things are not fixed. It's like,
mm,
that logic dictates this or history tells us that or something. I want to, be able to fly and, you know, speak with ghosts and, chase dragons and, all of these kinds of things. I feel that is more of a world that I inhabit, I guess, in terms of my dreams or my artistic goals. And it's a world of mythology. I often talk about artists are in many ways shaman, that we have a type of, we channel the world of imagination, which is in a sense a world of mythology. And this has an important role in society, that that the average person can't do what we do. And we've been talking throughout the show how mythology, it's how important it is, and how it's throughout all the ages. This kind of the symbolism of man killing dragon or something is, it's deeply ingrained in the kind of spiritual biospirit of Western man. That's the level on which I live and think and feel. And myth, it's mythopoetic is what they call that.
mm,
So I don't know if that's answering your question really, but it sounded cool. Mhm.
mhm. Yeah, it's hard to know because obviously I like to be entertained. I
Yeah,
think when it comes to writing,
yeah.
um, I like fiction, but in terms of when it comes to reading, I definitely read non-fiction more.
Oh,
Like I say, I don't
for
tend to
example,
read
what?
other people's fiction.
Well,
I'll watch other people's fiction films maybe, and I don't really read much. But yeah, so in terms of output, I would say fiction for sure. But in terms of learning, I tend to prefer real life. So maybe it's the case that real life events and things I learn from that influence the sort of creative side.
So the Woodlander says Anglos, Saxons, Celts, different branches of the same tree. Even the Normans were Norse. There you are. I think we all. And then he goes on to say we all need storytellers. So to me, this is storytelling. It's just visual storytelling.
Yeah, I mean, there were many Danes. The Angles, the Jutes, the Anglo-Saxons were probably the more infamous. They were ruthless. They were at times quite what's the word? They didn't play fair many times. They the story, the Night of the Long Knives.
The Night of the Long Knives. What's that about?
Yeah. Well, it was a story which was also it's a title that was given to something that happened during the what's it called, Nazi Germany regime.
Like Kristallnacht, is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, something like that. Night of the Long Knives. It was about some form of treachery that happened or took place. But the original story of that was to do with back in the Anglo-Saxon times, where the Saxons basically slayed a host of the priests, and there was certain law where you weren't allowed to attack a priest or a man that was unarmed. It was regarded as sort of cowardly and
not honorable,
lacking honor. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the Night of the Long Knives was a time where they thought there was doing a truce or something, and they were essentially just backstabbed. I think that's where it comes from, backstabbed.
Wow. Yeah. Fascinating.
Yeah, and they did it a number of times throughout the history with trying to get on with the Danes. But it was Alfred the Great which really helped to finally amalgamate the Angles and the Saxons to become a unified people, where there was really no distinction between them anymore.
Okay.
Yeah, I could work on this for hours, to be honest. I think it's grayscale at the moment. I'm going to put a bit of a gradient lay over the top of it. I'll probably let's see.
This is coming together nicely.
Yeah, yours is. I love your composition. It's more like a movie poster, isn't it? Mine's more like a keyframe from a film, and yours is more of a poster illustration. So I'm just going to get back to the end of the story. So Sigurd's tale reaches its tragic conclusion as the curse of the dragon's hordes unfolds. He becomes entangled in the complex politics and familial betrayals of the Burgundian court, marrying Gudrun, but unwittingly becoming part of a love triangle with the warrior maiden Brynhild, whom he had once promised to marry under a forgotten guise. The ensuing jealousy and the machinations led to Sigurd's murder, orchestrated by those he trusts. His death marks the end of a hero whose life was as marked by valor and honor as it was by tragedy and betrayal, leaving a legacy that would immortalize him in legend and song. Wow. Yeah. very interesting story. Quite
Yeah.
melancholy, but definitely you can see the threads of that in many other films and so on.
Yeah. Last night I came across a movie. I don't know. I think it's a Michael Palin movie. It's called Jabberwocky. You ever heard of it?
Yeah. No.
It's kind of goofy. It's not really Monty Python. And it's a little on the low end of like the budget. Like they didn't have like a lot of money to make the film. I love Michael Palin. I adore him. It's just one of my favorite human beings. But
who? Michael Palin?
Yeah, from Monty Python.
Ah, him, right? Yeah. Right. Okay.
But anyway, that's just another one of those dragon stories.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like the unwitting bard who naively stumbles into misadventures and that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Which he plays those parts pretty well. Like he's always sort of an innocent guy who somehow or other, like he's very likable. A lot of the roles that he plays. And kind of rooting for him.
Yeah. Yeah, Monty Python was quite big in the UK. A little bit before my time, but
Oh, really?
that was no insult. But
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, I was just a little bit too young, although it was played as I was growing up. I just, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know if his wings are too small, but hey, it is what it is. Yeah, I'll probably do another hour on this later in the week. Put a gradient over the top or something, and so I'll read a few more points.
Okay.
So we've got 5 points on things that we can learn from Sigurd, the Dragon Slayer's story. So the first one is the complexity of heroism. Sigurd's story teaches us that heroism is not just about strength and courage in battle, it also involves wisdom, integrity, and the capacity to navigate complex moral landscapes. His journey underscores that true heroism encompasses personal growth, pursuit of noble goals, and the resilience to overcome betrayal and adversity. It's a good one.
Yeah, I think my audio is not so good. Can you guys? I'm hearing in the chat that it's not that great. Max says Picts are descendants of Atlantis and Doggerland. I don't think I've ever heard of Doggerland.
Really? Oh, I've heard of Doggerland. It was the land between that connected Europe and the British Isles. So yeah, apparently it was connected some long time ago, and yeah, I mean Atlantis is is kind of seen as myth now, but I think who was it that mentioned it? Aristotle, I think, mentions it in some of his writings.
It's occurring to me that it would be interesting to do a comic book in this style, where I have this kind of gray tone paper, and I do the whole thing in these tones of light and dark,
Yeah, it looked pretty cool. It must take a while though to do a lot of those. It would take a while, wouldn't it? Space out. Yeah. I'll take a little bit of a rest from this one, I think. Add a quick touch of colour to this. And try a different brush. Still experimenting with a lot of these brushes.
Well, it's going on almost 2 hours here with this.
Oh, is it really? Yeah, 101 hour 43 here.
Time flies.
I just read a few more of the morals of the story.
Okay.
So we've got the consequences of greed. A central theme in Sigurd's saga is the destructive power of greed. The curse of the treasure that Sigurd acquires after slaying Panfair serves as a potent reminder of how greed can lead to the downfall and misery, not just for the one who harbors it, but also for those around him. The importance of fate and free will. Sigurd's legend explores the tension between fate and free will. Despite the foreknowledge of his doomed fate, Sigurd exercises his free will to pursue his destiny. This interplay invites reflection on how our choices define us, even in the face of seemingly predetermined outcomes. There's two more if you want to read them, but they are quite interesting to.
Yes, yeah. It's super crunchy on my end with audio. I don't know if you guys are hearing me okay.
Oh, this is a nice brush.
I'm going to turn up my. Hold on, let me check something. Oh, okay. Sounds like it's okay.
Yeah.
All right, so I'll read. I don't know where you left off though, because I couldn't hear you.
The last two, I think.
Okay.
Are
all right, you're coming through better now. In the 5 things area, is that what we're talking about?
Yes, the last 5. Yeah.
Okay, so the last 2, the value of mentorship and betrayal. Sigurd's relationship with his mentor Regan and others who betray him highlight the importance of choosing one's associates wisely. His story teaches that while mentorship and alliances can be invaluable for personal development and achieving one's goals, betrayal is a harsh reality that one might face, emphasizing the need for discernment and caution and trust. So that's what I was saying at the beginning of this show, is that this, excuse me, this myth has many layers to it, and there's a lot. It's just very rich. There's a lot in there. So this is just one of the lessons or parables that we're taking from it. So lastly, transformation and legacy. The saga of Sigurd and the dragons, Sigurd the Dragon Slayer, illustrates how individuals can transcend their beginnings to leave a lasting impact. Sigurd's transformation from a young warrior to a legendary hero demonstrates that one's legacy is defined by action and choices. His enduring story inspires us to think about how we can make meaningful contributions to our world, leaving a legacy that influences future generations. That is lovely. This is minus the audio garbage. I think this is a pretty good show.
Yeah, no, I'm.
A lot of goodies in there.
I was excited to do it as well, and
Excellent.
turned out good. We'll try and get to the bottom of the audio and figure out, how to improve it next time.
All right. So I
yeah.
choose among my markers what tones I'm looking for. There's a lighter tone. So I wonder if stories like Dune are influenced by this. For example, I'm going to see Dune on Friday, taking my son. Yeah, awesome. And I got another buddy. He's actually closer to my son's age. He's a film student, and we saw the three of us saw the first Dune together. So I thought it'd be neat, if we went and saw the second one together as well.
Yeah.
I love the director. I'm not, there's a lot of people in our sphere that criticize the casting. It's kind of, always getting these sort of ugly globalist type characters to, that are aesthetically not pleasing in some ways to play these heroic roles or whatever. But
yeah, I mean, I think I saw Dune, downloaded it.
The first one?
Yeah, and yeah, has it got that actor in there who's quite popular now? I forget his name, but yeah, I did see the first one. I mean, it was impressive for what it was, but you do see the typical stereotypes of of the evil wife.
I feel like in today's world, there's just so much that you're going to have to ignore if you want to even see a movie.
Yeah.
Exactly. You have to kind of you have to have a tolerance threshold, of okay, I can watch so much of this, but if it gets too globo homo or whatever, then I can't.
Yeah, exactly.
So you have to have a kind of a radar or a second sense to tell you, okay, is this movie going to be just essentially a giant insult? Is it going to creep me out? What's going on here? And you can tell a lot by the casting, of course, by the story, but
yeah. I know you're not a massive fan of this one, but I quite like this, to be honest. The one.
Well, I can't hear any music. I know you're playing music, but I don't hear anything.
No, not the music. The this keyframe that I've done. I just like the.
I didn't say I didn't like it. I just said that I thought the other ones were more engaging. I really enjoyed your portrait of Alexander the Great. So
Cheers.
I could see it would be nice to see you do more portraits.
Yeah. Well, just trying to practice art. Really, that's what I enjoy about these shows. Just it's an opportunity to just to do a bit more art, isn't it? And,
Oh yeah, sure.
I'm trying to stay away as well from AI. It was kind of getting too easy, and it was sapping the joy of creating. To be honest,
I think there's a lot to say for the community building. You know, our guys in the chat are they appreciate us what we do, you know,
thank you guys.
and then leaving a sort of a, I don't know if legacy is maybe a little too melodramatic, but you know, putting work out there that people can reference, that people can go to and discover, that is about us, you know. It's for our cause and our culture, etc. I've really grown to love these Copic markers. They're a bit expensive, like $7 for one marker. $7 for one marker, you know. So, but they give me so much power in terms of like the power, expressive power, I should say. So it's quite nice.
Cool. Yeah, sometimes you have to compromise on not compromise, but you know, just invest and buy the better quality stuff.
Right. That's kind of a whole other thing, is just that, you know, people don't understand the cost of the materials and stuff. It's someone was asking me about my comics and why I was not using traditional comic book paper. It's called Bristol board. It's thicker. It absorbs the ink better. And I'm like, I can buy 1,000 or 500 sheets of this particular paper for $20, you know. So like, you know, and Bristol board is $1 a sheet at its cheapest. So you know, I'm not spending $500 on Bristol board. You see, so you know, that's how it works, folks. Hippocratic Oath says, I never read the John Carter story. Is it subversive? John Carter from Mars? Is this the one? I don't know any other John Carter. And I would say no. I mean, that's who's the author? H.P. Lovecraft? No, not Lovecraft. John Carter from Mars. Is it Robert E. Howard? I think it's Robert E. Howard. Yeah. Where's Dave Martell when you need him?
Do you know what's his name? Is it Mike from Imperium Press? Do you know him at all?
I actually had him on my show years ago.
Because I know he was doing a podcast with Dave Martell, wasn't he? He's got the coolest voice, by the way, Dave Martell.
Like, oh God, he's a character. I love him. Yeah, I love him.
Just not in a bad way, you know. I mean, he's got a very distinct
he's
voice. Like
right. very
I mean, he
gruff.
could easily do. Oh, he does do radio, doesn't he? But
It's not even just his voice. It's like the way that he talks and the way that he thinks and all of it. It's very he's very masculine. You know, it's very masculine. So. But yeah, so I see. It's funny because what I'm doing here, I think would go really well in Dave's publishing world. You know, I illustrated the Bizarchives 2, which I assume some of the people in the audience probably have a copy, or
I might have seen that myself.
Yeah, I like a lot of his writers are fans of mine, follow my content. So let's check this out.
Yes,
Dune
interesting one.
I'm sorry, Mac says Dune is actually subversive to the John Carter trope. I don't know how that is, so I'm not sure. Hippocratic Oath says, I never read the da-da-da. We just read that. Woodlander says, great stream, gents, as always, but I've got to go. Shut the chickens away. Right. Off you go. I'm always afraid that you guys will get angry when I do an English accent. Should I stop?
It's not too bad. Not too bad.
Not
You're getting there.
Am I embarrassing myself?
No, not at all.
No, not at all. Okay, good.
Not at all. Not at all.
it just like suits me so well. I feel like I'm getting back to my culture, you know. I'm faking it though, you know. It's like I'm a fake Englishman.
So I think that would be up to 2 hours now. Wow.
Oh, I know. But that's kind of one of my goals, is to like go to England and be in a pub and then like speak with an English accent and see how long I can get away with it, you know.
Yeah, that's the true test. That's the litmus test of how British you are, isn't it?
And once they find out I'm American, they'll kick me out, though. You know. I should hope.
Right. I think I'm all penned out for today.
Yeah, I agree. That I think 2 hours is plenty. So, we really had a great show and great audience, great questions.
Yeah,
I loved all the content that we were reading about this story and how it impacts and reflects our culture, our myths, etc. So, I want to thank everybody for joining us. Follow us on Tuesdays. It's 1 p.m. Eastern time in America. What time is it in the UK?
6 p.m. GMT UK time. Okay, so awesome. Tune in next week, and also stop by to the Patriotic Arts community. It's Patriotic Arts, and the chat room is Patriotic Arts Community. So you can check us out there on Telegram. And tune in and see you next week. Big shout out to Repair Shop and Billy Green as well.
Yes.
All right, guys.
Let's hope.
Take care of us.
Very good. All right, gang. Love you all. Have a good evening, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.